back. I'm Michael Chandler, sitting in for Dr. Jamie Glazov. We're going to turn our attention now to the concept of sovereignty. It may have a slight hook regarding Benghazi, because Benghazi is a consular facility. And a consular facility is deemed to be the territorial soil of the nation whose embassy is there. How can it be that we allow that consular facility to be assaulted, overrun, and kept, and do nothing? Dwight?
Well, I have to repeat myself here. The President of the United States became president with the goal of doing away with American sovereignty, of recognizing the United Nations for what he saw it as, a place where he would eventually lead the world. That's the way he saw it. That's why he was in tune with the international global warming movement, pushing us out from, and that's why he said we're not an exceptional nation. We're exceptional like Greece.
Or the British.
Or the British. I mean, it's such a load of nonsense. This guy is as transparent as he can be. But, you know, behind him, I mean, Walter Cronkite was an internationalist. He said on camera, we should cede some of our sovereignty to the United Nations. It's, you know, these people are there, embedded in our culture and in our media, and they have been for the last 30 years. And then they say, oh, well, I hope it didn't seep into my news reporting. And Barack Obama is the product of all of it. That's why they love him. He is their savior. And we are to be taken, this powerful country is to be taken down and placed somewhere in and amongst the rest of them.
So where's the American patriot or citizen in this whole equation? Because if we are the children of liberty, yes, that our founding fathers hoped for us all to be, and as the great melting pot from which all nations have come, like my parents and yours, hoping to seek that better life, does no one then have an interest in standing up for America against the kinds of threats that you suggest?
Well, I'm glad you raised that question, because while people are focused on their lives and the economy, this question of American national sovereignty, and I'd like to pick up on the UN, when FDR helped organize the United Nations, the only nations that were allowed in were those who were our allies in World War II, that actually fought in World War II with the Allies. It was never meant to be this debating club and eventually this motley crew of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Conference and the non-aligned movement, which all outvote the United States, of course, at the General Assembly. Our founding fathers would never have stipulated to an international organization or a body of what they call customary international law to supersede American law. If I don't vote for you, you have no authority over me, and we don't vote for the laws at the UN. The American people have no say in the institutions of the United Nations, and therefore, thank God, many Americans still would not cede on climate change, on gun grabs, on the International Criminal Court, regulating our military, on all the ways that the UN is trying to run the world. Most Americans would not approve that.
Lloyd, America has a constitution which delineates national sovereignty and individual sovereignty. Currently, the UN is contemplating two similar but different treaties that bear on firearms.
In fact, I think
the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty and the United Nations Small Arms Treaty. Have you any comment on that?
I believe Obama is out there to sign on that today.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one to keep an eye on. You know, signing away our rights to firearms. You know, I think it's unconscionable to leave people defenseless. You know, I've seen it down in Colombia where the peasants can't afford, aren't allowed to have firearms. And so the FARC rebels just take advantage of them at will, seize their land, seize their property, throw them out in the streets. In fact, my uncle-in-law specifically lost his small plantation to the FARC rebels. They tied him up and said, you best leave in the morning. And so to this day, the FARC rebels run his plantation. And so he could not defend himself. They had automatic rifles, which are illegal. So I guess we can take those away.
A dual track then with sovereignty. individual sovereignty because he could not
Absolutely.
protect himself,
Right.
and national sovereignty because the nation is threatened by large groups of armed people that run around
Absolutely.
unchallenged or hard
Look
to
at the
control.
peasants in Mexico. They can't defend themselves.
The American idea is based on natural law and natural rights, which come from God. We instituted government to protect our rights. We've come a far way, haven't we,
Yeah.
from the founder's vision, except for one piece of the puzzle. I noticed the reaction of the American people when they thought their guns were going to be grabbed. They made sure that they were defended. And by the way, it was the pleas and testimony and witnessing by women in particular who said, I feel safer
Right.
by having the ability to defend myself. And of course, all the books came out and the documentation of how Americans are safer because we have individual right to arms.
Did you hear in the news, a couple days ago, where a lady called in Oregon
Oh, yes.
on a 911 call saying the
Heartbreaking.
person who served time
Oh,
for
yeah.
assaulting me in the past and was released from prison is back and pounding on my door. He's here again to kill me.
And
Called for help from 911 and she was told,
there's no police presence in your neighborhood in Oregon, and she was actually re-victimized.
not only that, she was asked, can you tell him to go away?
It didn't work so well.
Didn't
did it?
work out well for her at all. Like this goes back to the concept of sovereignty, both on the individual track and the larger governmental track. Doesn't government have a responsibility to protect us in certain ways where we cannot protect ourselves?
Well, absolutely. I'd like to point out that Obama has been the best gun salesman in the U.S.
He has done wonders for that, huh?
At this time, gun ownership is up higher than almost any other time in U.S. history. 47% of the people own guns, and I do see that as a positive thing. We are an armed nation, and many of us will defend ourselves, and I think that's the best thing I can say for you about that.
Dwight, the Supreme Court ruled on Monday that it is not a violation of the Fourth Amendment to take DNA samples from a person who's convicted of nothing. These DNA records may be retained indefinitely. Is there a problem with that?
I think there certainly could be. Now, I'm not quite sure. In other words, they can take your picture. The police can take your picture. They can take your fingerprints. That's unique to you. I had to have my fingerprints taken when I worked for the City of New York, Bureau of Pest Control.
Good
I
to
did.
know.
Yeah, it was. It was good. Changed my life. No, but DNA it's also a protection. I have to say this. This is a complicated issue. I look at your face is unique. Your fingerprints are unique. Your DNA is unique.
So is it a violation of personal sovereignty for them to retain that on file, or is that okay since it's everybody's unique?
I think if they can keep our fingerprints, if they can keep our photograph.
So I think
it's
what
okay?
happened in this
Yeah.
case was somebody had committed a crime and then drank, I think, some beers, and so they collected the DNA from
the glass.
the leftover debris. I don't think the government should have the right to invade your person
Right.
if you're not under criminal
And I don't think that
indictment.
I don't think that's part of it. You have to actually be under investigation or something.
Well, they'd need probable cause, but I don't
Yeah.
really want the government taking people's blood samples and
A swab,
A swab?
inside of the cheek. That's
Okay.
it. That's all.
Yeah, I guess
This is a tough one.
it's a question of where does that start and end. I mean, if they can just come take it with no... I think there should be some sort of like a writ, it's like a search. You'd have to have a judge sign off on that, yes, okay, there's a reasonable reason why they should have to
Should
take
they sunset, or can those files be retained indefinitely?
food for future thought. That's a good question. That's a very good question.
Yes. To shift, since time is precious here, last week it was revealed that ongoing Chinese cyber espionage resulted in the massive theft of America's most valued defense programs. The F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, the Navy's newest ship, the LCS, the V-22. During the Clinton administration, the Chinese stole the blueprints for every nuclear warhead in America's arsenal.
Yes.
Don't these constitute breaches of sovereignty actionable by war? What should be the response of the American government? Should the citizen be alarmed at these kinds of things or angry?
Well, we certainly should
Lloyd?
be concerned. Yeah, it's. I don't think we need to go to war with China and start nuking them over this, but we certainly need to respond to them. And presently, the Obama administration has been very meek about addressing this with them, and that may have something to do with our excessive debt with that country, which is a very troubling situation. But certainly, we need to. I mean, we invented the internet. That was a U.S. military invention. We should be able to control it. Yeah, Al Gore invented it, that's right. So we really need to do a better job of our...
Can we send them, a la Stuxnet, some sort of
There is now
package along with that which they steal?
There's a command in the United States military now, Cyber Command,
Yeah.
and I think it's part of Special Ops Command. There are a few countries which are specializing in cyber warfare, in space, on the ground, and of course on the internet and digitally. And so we need to win. We need to win that war like we had to win the race to space.
But unfortunately, we're doing everything to reach out to the Muslims around the world to make them feel better about themselves. So
that's what NASA was
yes,
yeah,
all
that's
about.
yeah, that's what it's all
That's the
about.
NASA
So,
new, that's their
And
marching
what
orders.
goodwill has that garnered for us?
more. Well,
And like the reset with Russia. What goodwill did we
the
get out of
reset.
that?
Yeah.
Rosetta Stone has Chinese.
Well, we're going to need that, aren't we?
Yes.
We need to move along to the IRS scandal. There's so much there and so little time to
That's
cover it. Perhaps you guys heard of Al Salvi in his race
yes.
against Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois.
Right.
Dwight, you're nodding like you know something about this.
Well, what's her name? Lerner.
Lois
Lois
Lerner, yes.
Yeah. Now, interesting thing about Lerner. It's funny. Powerlineblog.com had a very interesting story about Lerner going after Oliver North when he was
I hadn't
running
heard
for
that.
election, and she asked him the same kinds
Is that
of
right?
questions about his. Did you contact so and so, and did you ask him to pray for you? And did he say he would pray for you?
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that.
It's a very interesting thing that this woman has a track record now of asking these.
Did she ask about the
questions.
content of his prayers as well?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
my
that's
God.
it. So it goes back. This woman is. I mean, she took the fifth for a reason. She really did, and I think you're going to see. There will be some. She will be.
There will be consequences.
exposed.
There are
She'll be
some who say
exposed.
that the best way to approach this would be to give her immunity
Right,
so that she
right.
can speak fully
Yes.
and they can
That's
pursue
the
that
crowd
where
hammer.
it goes. Yes.
If we trust that she'll tell the truth,
Yes, if.
which I don't.
Yeah.
Apparently, the rumor is she told this candidate in Illinois, you have to promise not to run for office
That's right.
Ever again.
ever again in order to leave him alone. The level of mendacity is just now being uncovered. The press did not do its job. Therefore, I think the administration built habits of deceit,
Patterns.
of cover-up, of failure to reveal, of non-transparency, pleading the fifth, of contempt of Congress, which is what the Attorney General did. And now he's in contempt of the American people. And so it's a mess.
Yes, he is.
And I think it is obviously damaged the administration to the point that any objective person, and the independents are polled, they no longer trust the president to tell the truth.
Do you trust Douglas Shulman to tell the truth, gentlemen?
No.
No? Everybody's laughing.
Well, he's told the truth twice, two different ways.
He doesn't know anything.
Well, the numbers keep changing, right?
The numbers keep changing. And let me point out that lady, the Tea Party lady there, bless her
That
heart.
would be Becky Garrettson.
Barry, yeah,
From Alabama.
she pegged it right on the head. She says that the government has slipped away from. We are no longer.
Yeah,
they're
she
not
was
our servants. We are
tear-filled.
theirs. It's the country is slipping away, and she articulated as well as I think anybody.
Yeah,
could.
I think she's going to have lasting credibility and favor.
I think that's the face of the IRS scandal right now.
Yeah.
Valerie Jarrett said that there was going to be payback.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these people have made threats. Karl Rove mentioned that the president called the Tea Party destructive to America. He also called Fox News destructive to the growth of the United
And
States
illegitimate.
and a danger. They've used a lot of fighting words, and Republicans, I think, would do very well to be mindful of those words and go after them and remind everybody that they promised to go after.
Do you think the Republicans have enough cojones, to use a charged word, to actually stand up to the
Some do.
opposition of media
Some
and
do.
to the ignorant American populace, which is concerned with more with Kim Kardashian or the Dodgers news baseball player Puig?
Hey, now you're hitting now you're hitting the ball right on the seam. I think the Obama administration's most clever excuse was that the IRS scandal was just poor customer service.
Yes.
That one really
That was
charming.
Miller. That was Miller, right. Yes, that was good.
Well, gentlemen, our time is nearly up. We have so many other things that we could have gotten to. The Supreme Court decision in Citizens United, I think, was a real impetus that prompted the Obama administration to this kind of enemies list mentality where they work through their various opponents and stifle them, like Lois Lerner and Douglas Shulman. But those will be topics for the next thrilling episode of the Glazov Gang. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Thank you.